1 in 38. That's the number of young children believed to have lead poisoning in the United States. More than 500,000 children, and some of them live right here in High Point. This number is a wake-up call for parents, grandparents, child care providers, or anyone with children under the age of 6 in their lives. Too much lead in a child's blood affects that child for the rest of his or her life.
Teachers often see the effects of lead poisoning in our schools with their children. It can be a learning disability, it can be hearing problems, it can be behavioral problems, or as serious as seizures.
At higher levels, lead exposure can even cause death. Children under age 6 and pregnant women are most at risk for lead poisoning. What you don't know about the dangers of lead paint can be putting your children at risk. Do you know your child's blood lead level?
As parents, we know that it's our job to keep our children safe. We teach them not to touch a hot stove. We teach them not to run with scissors. We teach them to look both ways before they cross the street. But we don't really teach them about lead, and we don't really think a lot about lead. It's important for us to know the dangers of lead and to know our children's blood lead level.
It takes very, very little lead to cause significant toxicity in a child. If I took a small amount of salt right here and put just a few grains on my finger, that's all it takes to cause significant impairment in your child's life.
How does a child become exposed to lead? Old windows and doors with lead paint create dust, and lead paint dust is the most common way children become poisoned. Could lead paint be in your home or somewhere your children spend time?
In the United States, houses built before 1978, it's estimated that 24 million houses have the problem of deteriorated lead-based paint. It becomes a greater problem the older the house is, for two reasons. One is more lead was used in paint in older houses, and the second is that the older the house, the more cracking and peeling you'll find on the house. The more cracking and peeling, the more poison that can be released through lead paint.
The causes of elevated lead levels in children really has to do with the child's environment. Most commonly we see children have elevated lead levels due to contact with lead-based paint, which until 1978 was in widespread use. It's since been banned, but the paint still exists and the lead in the paint still exists, even if it's been abated in the soil within these neighborhoods where the paint was used. Because of that, sometimes the only way we find out where a contaminated house or a contaminated neighborhood may exist is by having an elevated lead level identified in a child living in that neighborhood or home.
Lead paint is everywhere. Lead poisoning is permanent, but it is also preventable.
All parents need to be aware of the dangers of lead-based paint, and all parents need to know their children's lead levels. They need to be aware of the dangers of lead in paint in their homes, in their grandparents' homes, in their daycares, in their churches, and anywhere their children are spending a lot of time.
How do you find out if your child is at risk?
If you are a parent, a grandparent, please try to educate yourself about the dangers of lead. You can literally save a child's life.
Get your child tested. Reach out for help.
Lead poisoning is permanent, but is also preventable.
Habla con el médico de tu hijo.
Know your child's blood level.
Aprende más sobre el envenenamiento por plomo.
Talk to your child's doctor. Free testing for lead is available at the health department.
Let's work together to create healthier homes and brighter futures here in High Point.
Reach out for help. Visit www.leadsafehp.org for more information. The City of High Point has received a grant to help remove lead paint from local homes. If you think lead paint may be in your home and you live in High Point, call the City of High Point's Community Development and Housing Office at 336-883-3349. In other communities, you can dial 211 or call your local health department for information on lead paint programs and testing in your area. This video was made possible by a grant to the City of High Point from the Department of Housing and Urban Development.